policies. And the mass deportation plan of foreign workers could cost the U.S. economy perhaps $1 trillion. That doesn't sound good on paper. Doesn't read well either. Look who's here tonight on the party panel. It's Harris Faulkner. She's the host of the Fox Report. She's the anchor there and co-host of Outnumbered on the Fox News Channel. Yay. Mike Baker is here. He's a former CIA covert operations officer. He's the president of Diligence, LLC, and he provides my in-studio security for a bargain basement price. Just a few slices of pizza and a root beer. Lachlan Markay is here, writer for the Washington Free Beacon. Welcome back, Lachlan. And welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Let's end the week right. Let's talk about some polls, some movements, some numbers, and the economy. Trump said that he's looking for at least 4% GDP growth. What do you think he's really looking for here?
I think he's trying to, he has this vision of sort of this nostalgia for this 20th century manufacturing economy that he wants to bring back to the United States, which sounds great if you're in a manufacturing industry. But even his advisors admit that this entails higher prices for pretty much everything that Americans spend money on. Clothing, food, electronics, these basic household necessities. So it's basically, in effect, subsidies for industries that Trump or his administration favors at the expense of everyone who buys pretty much everything.
No, I mean, in theory, it sounds great to have everything made here.
Right.
It's not very good in practice if you want to have affordable cars or clothes or computers.
Yeah, it's not that much different, really, from, the Democratic idea of subsidizing certain politically favored industries. Hillary Clinton wants to make government more expensive, in effect, by raising taxes on just about everyone.
Yeah.
Donald Trump wants to make pretty much everything else more expensive.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up paying more regardless of which candidate
But that is one of the things the two have in common, is they both always offer great things when they talk about the economy. I think it's going to be nearly impossible for either of them to deliver on some of the campaign promises they're making. Do you think we're headed for disappointment?
What? You mean a candidate may not come through on a promise? No, but you're
25
right.
million jobs, Mike Baker.
I know. Isn't that going to be great when we get that? So that's like, here's what I think, is that, as an example, if you had taken Trump's child care plan that he's now thrown out there, and you took his name off of that, you would be hard-pressed to identify that as a Republican proposal.
Yeah, you would be like, is this Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, or Hillary Clinton?
And then you look at how he proposes to pay for it, or really how, numerous candidates in the past have proposed to pay for anything, and they talk about we're going to eliminate fraud and waste in the government. Well, look, if you remember, and I know you and I were good friends back then, but it was 1930, 1931.
Loved it.
Franklin Roosevelt asked about how are you going to pay for farm relief? How are you going to pay for this unemployment insurance thing that you're talking about? And the answer was, I'm going to cut fraud and waste in the government. Of course he didn't. And so we've been watching the growth of government ever since.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. I will say, though, I push back on some of these studies that say, well, Trump's plan is going to cost us trillions, because just look how much that mass deportation thing's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We need to be realistic about some of this.
But if you take it seriously,
and
he's also walked that back. Like he has said, he's softened, he's evolved, whatever you want to call it, but now he's no longer talking about deporting 11 million people. A firm like this, and when I read about this economics firm in Oxford, I think, what is coloring their abstraction of the facts? Like, do they have some sort of political bias against Donald Trump that is somehow informing their research?
Well, that I don't know, because I haven't researched that company to find out where their impetus would come from, but I can tell you this. The American people typically don't really drill down quite as far as what this firm has done. They've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work. But somehow or another, Donald Trump, as he did today, in front of the Economic Club here in New York City at the Waldorf, finds a way to drill it all down to one sentence. If it's all broken, I can fix it.
Yeah.
Well, I can fix everything that's broken. That's what he said today. And so what people want to know is, do we have a candidate who's got the gumption to just kind of look at the total picture? Carl Icahn is one who believes that Donald Trump would be good for the economy.
Yeah.
Others say that he wouldn't. I think we're all navel-gazing and asking the wrong question. Isn't this really about who brings the most stability to the market? I mean, put all their ideas aside for a second. People just want to know what's predictable. And out of those two, would that be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump?
Well,
way,
according
don't knock
to
my
voters,
habit of navel-gazing, by the way.
I know, and you don't just gaze at your own navel, which is something I respect about you. In the latest Fox News poll, respondents say that Donald Trump is actually better equipped to handle the economy by 51% to 44% for Hillary Clinton. So this is one of the areas, like, he is appealing directly to voters who already believe in him with a speech like this today, something that is measured. It sounds practical, maybe a little harder to implement.
Maybe not just those who already believe in him, but, you know, he's trying to have some inroads with the independents, and statistically we're starting to see that happen in places like Florida, where he's leading Hillary Clinton, I believe by double digits now among independents. So he's also just trying to sound a little bit more level. Again, the market's going to watch for who doesn't really shake it up too much. When he talks specifics about shrinking the tax codes from 7 to 3 and putting them into those 3 categories, the top half would be 33%.
But that's a debate that we had on Cavuto on Business last week, and there are a lot of economists who think that if he starts a trade war, that will be bad for the markets. But let's talk about Hillary Clinton, who, man, she has to restock her own shelves, doesn't she? She has risen like a phoenix from the ashes.
Yes.
The former First Lady back on her feet, as nimble and spry as ever, getting those lady lumps onto the plane to fly that pneumoniac biscuit to North Carolina.
Oh,
campaigning in Greensboro, hoping to restore her lead in the race. Can she halt Trump's momentum and retake the lead? Lachlan, what do you think about the First Lady getting back out this week, at this point in the week, rather?
Yeah, I'm glad she's fully recovered from, it wasn't really clear what she had after Bill Clinton came out yesterday.
Flu,
He said it was the
pneumonia, tomatoes, potatoes.
Frequently, rarely.
Yeah,
something.
you know, this has been not a good few weeks for her, and it's been a particularly good few weeks for Trump.
Yes.
His campaign reset seems to have, if not worked, then at least sort of shored up some gaps in his campaign operation. But I think it would be foolish to expect the next 6 weeks to go just as well for Trump and just as poorly for Clinton, especially once we start getting into the debates, which I think Clinton is going to be very good. It's going to be a very good setting for her.
But also, you know, when she gets her back up against the wall and she gets desperate, that's when she always clicks into a different mode, and you can't count her out. But I'm wondering, Mike Baker, is she one coughing fit away from a Biden presidency?
Yeah, you got to wonder what Joe's thinking right now, right? I mean, this whole past couple of weeks, we know exactly what he's
challenging
thinking.
people to road races. Like, come on out, man. Ultra marathons for everyone.
And I've heard, I don't know how many times over the past week I've heard people say, man, I just wish Joe had gotten into it. But of course, we all remember Joe didn't do so well the last couple of times he tried, right? So everybody loves the person that's sitting on the bench. But
I'm not calling Kaepernick.
Yeah, not well, except for that guy. But I think that she, look, there's a fine line to walk when you're talking about these health issues.
Sure.
And I think that, you know, Trump, his team, his management team, I think wisely saw that line and realized they got to stay well away from it.
Yeah.
So she has another coughing fit, she has another incident. You know what? I don't think it's going to be necessarily a problem for her as long as from this point on they deal with it properly. The information they released was very narrow in its scope. It was good information, but very narrow. I think, what's the harm? Just get your medical records out. How difficult is it to be, for both sides, to be transparent? Trump, get your tax records out. What's going on?
I would normally say that, except for now we have a jumping off point. You know, before we might have looked at some things and we might have said, oh, okay, so that was an isolated incident. But now that we've seen a presidential candidate actually fall ill, literally,
and fall,
now you've got that against whatever the records would show, and that's a different context.
Yeah, you have to put up, you can't put up the baseline records. Now you have to put up the treble as well. In the meantime, Gary Johnson today reminded us that he's probably healthier than Clinton.